There he is.
What's up?
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, it's 6 o'clock right on the dot. Let's make the introductions right here for the man, the myth, the legend. I'll tell you what, everybody. I have done 6 of these introductions, from everybody in the group, including Tony Huerta. And tonight, we come to the architect, the originator, the founder, the one and only Mr. Claude McKnight III from Take 6, 10-time Grammy Award-winning maestro. How are you, sir?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm well, man. Just getting by with this quarantine thing, but it's not bad. It's not bad. I'm a gamer, so I get to game at home all day. I can, do my work from home as well. So
that's cool.
It's not too bad.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So let me start with that. Let me, tell me how you've been. What's going on with you, and how are you handling this whole, COVID-19 situation?
Well, that's a great question, because that's the question everybody's asking everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it hasn't been that bad, but for a couple of reasons. One, I'm busy. I'm working on some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Outside of Take 6, and Take 6 has been working on some stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been watching everything that you could possibly watch on Netflix and Amazon Prime and everything else, man. I've come to the end of the internet, I think.
Yeah. It's funny too, because we finally broke down and got Netflix, because previously, when I used to have it, it was in the early stages, and there wasn't much stuff that was really that good. But now they've just started to really come up with some good stuff and original movies and all this. And so me and my wife was like, bump it, let's get it, So
anything you could think about wanting to see, you can find on Netflix. And if it's not Netflix, man, it's Amazon Prime or Hulu or whatever. And I have them all. So I suppose I'm on overload.
Yeah. Oh man. So I'll tell you what, we got some great questions from Take 6 Universe. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to take a peek at any of them.
I did. Really good questions.
Good. I guess my biggest thing is, I know that you have, like you mentioned, that you're working on some stuff. And I know it has to do with Take 6 and everything. Do you want to save that announcement for later? Do you want to tell people now? What do you think?
As far as the Take 6 stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask this.
Yeah.
Have you asked any of the other guys this question?
No.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Since I know that you're kind of heading up this project that you're doing, I purposely did not get any of them in trouble. I asked all of them. I said, hey, what are you working on and stuff? And they told me, about all the projects that they're working on and stuff. And they did mention, we got this little thing, and my part is done. That's what they've said to me. And and I said, okay, cool. Well, Claude's coming on Thursday. We'll see if he wants to, wants to talk about that. So,
what I'll simply say is, we have decided that we are re-recording specifically for this quarantine COVID-19 spreading thing, Spread Love.
Okay.
And so as we record Spread Love, we're doing all of the videos, for all of us to be in it. And then we're sending it out to a bunch of different people to do their version of our song, because we want the song to spread.
Okay.
In a viral kind of way. And rather than spreading disease, we're spreading love, man. So we're looking at some really cool people to join in on this thing. And, hopefully by the time it's done, whatever done means, it's going to be this completely different animal from, the tried and true regular acapella version that we put out. So we want to see where it goes.
Excellent. That's great. Yeah, because I know, because I know that picture that you shared that had, you could see it said Spread Love on it. And then everybody started, going, oh my God, is he going to do the whole album? And I'm like, no. But
let me say this. Let me clear this up. Because I know there's been a lot of talk about, you know, whether or not we're going to finish the re-record and all of that.
Mark
and
just
again,
said it's not dead. That's all he said to me.
Exactly. It's not dead. And we have philosophized about it quite a bit over the years. Because what ends up happening is you record something and then you put it away.
Yeah.
You know, that was then. And so we had the thought of doing, you know, the anniversary edition of it. And once we did it, because it's basically done except for the leads, you know, once we did it, we were like, I don't know if there was a reason to really do it, you know, for us, you know, unless we were to do something that was markedly different.
Right.
You know, so it's not dead in the water, and we're going to figure out probably how to get it out there in a way that makes sense for us and that gives the fans something in the 2000s that is certainly different technologically and even somewhat musically than 1988.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I do understand. Because I remember you were talking about this in your video podcast kind of thing that you were doing before, and I totally got it. Where you were saying, you know, that you do something and you kind of move on and you want to grow. You don't want to necessarily look back and all that, you know. And I think what happened is that once this idea started to float around publicly, then everybody got excited about it. And they were like, you know, they couldn't wrap their heads around it. I'll be honest, I was one of the ones that I was like, well, why would you? I mean, I'll pay whatever you want for it, you know. But you know, as an artist, you know, I understand you. You know, you guys have to do it because it feels right, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? We were excited about it until we weren't. You know, sometimes you don't know until you get in the thick of something. You're kind of like, huh, not really sure. I can say with some certainty, and don't quote me, even though this will live forever.
It will.
You know, that the intention is to actually finish it up and figure out what makes sense to re-release, even if it's a song at a time or whatever. So we'll figure it out. But right now, we do know that Spread Love is something that we are basically done with and is going to come out and build and build and build because, man, where we are right now, there's got to be some love spread.
Oh, no doubt about it. You know, I touched briefly on your the show that you used to have. I'm saying you used to have because I guess did you stop doing it or is it coming back? What's the story on that?
So it was called Hanging Out with Claude McKnight, and I did it for about 2.5 years or so. And my last episode was the weekend that my mom passed 3 years ago. And it was a cool show. I enjoyed it. I got to interview some people that I really wanted to hang out with. And I interviewed my mom 2 or 3 times, other family members, my daughters and stuff. I think that once my mom passed, I kind of felt like, well, I've said everything I want to say right now. You know, and I've heard from quite a few people, especially recently, that I should revamp it. So I may do that, and it may be something a little different. But we'll have to see what happens from that. You know, I started doing a little series called One Question with Claude. And so I interviewed Kirk Whalum. I interviewed a couple of the guys in the group and stuff and found out things I had never known. You know? And I think in this day and age, if you can do something that you can do consistently and that's short, you know, because one question, you know, someone could answer that in 2 minutes, or they could wax and do it for 10 minutes, and then just put that up. You know, it keeps people's attention and stuff. And there's some bangers that I really want to ask some questions of. You know, so if I can do that, then I will continue moving that forward.
Okay, so then if you had right now, if you could guarantee that you could get one person to do that show for you. You know, to ask that one question or something like that, or continue that, who would you have?
Oh, man. When you started to ask the question, I started thinking musically. And then I went back to something that I've said for the last 20 years. There's one person on earth, and this is going to be a crazy answer. There's one person on earth that I would like to ask one question of, and that person is A.C. Cowling. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, he's wasn't he well, he's a basketball player, right?
No, A.C. Cowling
he
drove the Bronco.
Yeah. Oh,
when OJ when OJ was escaping or whatever.
Yeah.
I've always thought, man, that dude must know so much, because in the heat of that drive, if I could sit down with him and be like, AC, just give me a little bit of what's happening while you guys are riding.
Yeah, yeah.
Man.
I would have never guessed in a million years that you would have said AC Cowlings.
Dude, from the time that happened, I always thought, man, I would love to sit down with him, even if it wasn't something that was for public consumption.
Right.
You know, just be like, yo, man, just tell me what's happening in the Bronco.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Yep.
That's crazy.
So, but there's, of course, you know, obviously music cats that I want to talk to. And the one question thing is something that, from a personal standpoint, I would want to ask questions that I've always wondered about certain people. You know, not what's your next album, not what were you thinking about when you such and such and such and such. They're just things that, you know, you might ask of a buddy when you're sitting late night just talking, say, hey, man, tell me about such and such, you know, and kind of get them off guard, but have them comfortable enough that they can answer the question.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk about you know, obviously we're going to talk about, you know, quite a bit about Take Six, but you know, some of the questions that have come up here are really good. It kind of got me thinking. As you being one of the founders, obviously you're the founder of Take Six. You know, people want to know really like the early days and how this whole nucleus was formed. And one of the questions that came through is, you know, because Mark has been with you guys the longest, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, people are wondering, how was that meeting? Like, how did you guys meet, and how did you guys figure out that you wanted to do this, you know?
Well, of course, you know, there's the story of the bathroom, you know. Mark came in, and that is true. You know, he came in and added the fifth part and whatnot. But some people don't know that I knew Mark and Joey when we were kids.
Yeah, and that's where I was going to.
So we grew up in Buffalo together. Their dad was the pastor of our church. So I knew that Mark was supremely talented from a musical standpoint from those days. And we were, you know, we weren't even teens yet. You know, I saw Mark was at Oakwood. You know, so that was years later. And he was a senior in high school, as I was a freshman in college and had just gotten there. So it was kind of like, oh, man, good to see you again. And, you know, the rest obviously is history, because I hadn't planned on working with Mark. In fact, my first group was 3 other freshman dudes, and we were like barbershop style quartet stuff. And we wanted to be kind of hip, and we were, but, you know, we were kind of following in the footsteps of a bunch of the other groups that were there at Oakwood until Mark Kibble came in there. Right.
And then he kind of really started would you say he's definitely responsible for the Take Six sound?
Oh, yeah. And at first, you know, it was a quintet until he brought Merv in, and it was a sextet. And our very first arrangement that Mark did for the group was a 5-part arrangement of Bless This House. And
so that goes way back to then.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was somewhat similar to the one we do. But, of course, it was only 5 parts. And, you know, I don't even know how or why he arranged that. We sang it, I think, one time. And it was at Moran Hall at Oakwood. And there was this legendary, infamous cassette that was floating around for many years that someone had. And we can't find it. Of course, you can't play a cassette anywhere now. But, yeah, man, it was not to toot our own horns or whatever, but it was this amazing performance where people are like, what are we hearing right now? And it was so cool because people were screaming and stuff. We were like, what's happening right now? It was Mark's arrangement.
Can when I'm going to jump around a little bit, but when would you say that Take Six made it?
The made it part, I think, is when we started realizing that we had the group that we could move forward and even start thinking about, maybe we could do this professionally. So that goes back to when we got Alvin Cedric, and Dave in the group. So that's around 85.
Okay.
Because
so not even before you won the Grammys, would you say that it wasn't even when you won the Grammys that you thought you made it? You were thinking way before that.
But so think about this. Making it can be a lot of different things for people.
Sure, of course.
For us, the making it part, at least for me, was we've got a group right now that is really solid.
Yeah.
And so we really enjoyed rehearsing, which is all we did at that time. You know, until we got our deal, all we did was rehearse.
Yeah.
And those were legendary rehearsals. We had fun. We would rehearse for hours and hours and hours, not because we were just trying to get better. It's because we loved the music. The arrangements were killer, and we just loved being together. So that, to me, was making it. So, of course, you know, the Grammys and stuff, that was a whole different level of making it, so to speak. But, man, once we got those three cats, it was like, man, we got something special now.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody asked if there was any footage of you and your brothers at a young age performing, because they're kind of interested to, you know, hear and see that sound from way back when.
Nah, not really. The only thing I remember that had any kind of archive of us was in 1980 at a program in Chicago that the Willis family was doing. My brothers and I sang, and I want to say we sang Milky White Way. And I remember that being on cassette, and Brian sang the lead, and he was only, what, in 1980, he was 11, you know? Yeah, and I sang bass, and, you know, because it was the McKnight Brothers Quartet. So we used to sing at different tent meetings and at church and stuff, but that's the only thing I do remember there being some kind of archival footage, not even video, but it was on cassette. Yeah,
yeah, but nowhere is that around. Nobody, you don't even know who has it. Wow. Oh boy,
it would have been cool. It would have been cool to look back and be like, "Yo, this is where we really started."
Sure, you know? Sure. Yeah, because I mean, there's early stuff of you guys, of all 6 of you guys, you know, on YouTube and whatever. But yeah, early stuff like that. I mean, it's funny because let me ask you this: a lot of artists, when they win a Grammy or they do something really monumental that their mind gets blown, right? They get asked this question. They say, when you were in the studio, did you know that this project was going to be a monster hit? You know, I want to ask you that, because like you said, you guys love rehearsing. You knew at an early, you know, in 85 that you had something solid. When you were doing these projects, did you think or know that you had a monumental album? And with that album, I mean this one right here.
Yeah. We had no clue, man. No clue.
No clue.
No, because when we were signed, I mean, you have to remember, we were signed to the country music division of Warner Brothers Records in Nashville, Tennessee. We were an acapella group. We were 6 young dudes who had never really professionally recorded before. So we did the songs we knew. Jim Ed Norman, to his credit, who signed us, was like, I have no clue what we're going to do with this music, but I love it. So let's just see. So we felt kind of like, well, this is a great opportunity to go in the studio on somebody else's dime, you know? And his whole thing was, if we sell 25,000 copies or whatever, it's a win, you know? And so everything after that happened, and we were like, whoa, this wasn't supposed to happen like this, was it? You know? And then it did, and it just took off. And I think that project has sold up to this point 2 million or more copies.
That was my question, because I know that you know how much. That's the thing. We've always, you know, there's always been questions, speculation. You know, how did this do? Because obviously we don't have the inside knowledge, but I know you. So 2 million copies right here.
Oh yeah, and so let me tell you a crazy story. So when we were signed in '87. If you know anything about Nashville and the studio scene, especially back then with the record labels, they have what is called Music Row. And Music Row was basically a bunch of old homes in the Nashville area that housed the production houses, the studios, the labels and stuff. And in '87, aside from any of the other country artists that Warner Brothers had, they had just signed Randy Travis, and they signed us. And I can tell you without blinking that Randy Travis becoming a star and that first Take Six album helped build the Warner Brothers building in Nashville.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. I can say that on good record. And it is a big compound of,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, think about it. 2 million records, especially at that time, and for a record that cost no money to make.
Yeah, no doubt. You didn't have it. You didn't have a band or anything like that.
No.
You just had to have studio time, a mixer, a master, and whoever else, and a little artwork and photographer. Boom, you're done.
Yep. I could tell you how much the record cost, but I'm not.
No, it's fine. You don't have to. You don't have to. But I'll tell you what. I'm gonna show this picture from the inside here, of this album here. I want to, so everyone can see how young you guys were. I mean, in your 20s, about to start an acapella revolution, and every acapella group that I have ever seen that has gone on TV or on the internet or anything credits you guys as an influence, credits you guys as somebody who they aspire to be like, all the way up to pentatonics.
Wow.
You know,
that's awesome. Since we're the old guys now.
Hey, but you know, nobody. And listen, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. There's nobody that does it that does it better. That has that blend that you guys have.
Well,
you know?
Thank you.
It's unbelievable. You know?
Let me ask you this, Julio. Did any of the other guys tell you about what the blend is kind of about, how it happened or anything? Has that been a question?
Be my guest. Bust it out.
Okay. So from my perspective,
yeah,
I'm going to tell you why I think Take Six, aside from the fact that Mark's arrangements are killer, it's the fact that for whatever reason, we had no problem deciding to sing with vibrato and with all manner of other emotion as we did our chords. Because if you think about it, a lot of groups are very, very straight when they're singing chords, so that the chords actually are, you know, almost like you play on the piano, all the same weight.
Okay.
You know, but with Take Six, we're like, man, that chord is so amazing. Let me put some oomph on it. Put some mushroom soup on it.
Right.
You know,
right.
And so that's how we sang from the very beginning. And I think that really helped give us a signature sound that worked for us. Here's the other thing. I'm not a first tenor. I am not a first tenor. So I grew up listening to cats who sang high, so I could sing high. But to get up there and to stay up there, there's a certain amount of vibrato and a certain amount of bravado that I needed to have to do it. And so I would do my thing, and then Mark would fall in line, you know, with his thing, which is completely different from mine, but we blended well together. And so there were all of these elements that you could pick out certain people's voices, as opposed to how a lot of groups are, where it's so homogenous that you don't really hear specific voices.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you're one of the ones that has really like the widest range, I would say, I would guess. Out of
consistently, Even though there are guys in the group who sing higher than me. Yeah.
So what would you say, where do you enjoy to sing the most? On the top part, or, because, you know, I've heard you sing bass. And, you know, you say you're not a first tenor, so you're something else. So if you had to choose, like, let's say you weren't in Take Six, where would you be?
Okay, so in 30 plus years, I've never been asked that question. That's a good question, man. That's a really good question. So I really, 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 really enjoyed singing in a special blend. You know, the other group that Mark and I sang in, and I was singing the baritone part. So I love baritone, but I can honestly tell you, in a group like I'm in now, I wouldn't sing any other part than what I'm singing.
Okay.
Because when I started the group, I thought I wanted to sing bass. And I could, but my roommate was a bass, and nobody at the time that I had in the group could sing first tenor. And so whether or not I've ever disclosed this publicly or not, dude, once I started singing first tenor, I was like, oh, this is the part to have. I was young. I was in school, and I was like, but that's the part that everybody listens to.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? So I was that dude all of a sudden.
And you're right, because like when I would listen to, I mean, when I was like 7, 8 years old, I was listening to the Breath of Life Quartet, that album, Spirituals. You're right. I would always pick out that first tenor, you know?
Yeah. Walter Ortiz, man. It's like, yeah.
that group is legend, by the way. You kids don't know about that. You guys get to go look that up.
Yep. So that group, aside from Singers Unlimited and some of the other groups that we talk about, Breath of Life Quartet is in our DNA.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. And I could tell with this album, that very, let me see, 1, 2, 3, the third song on here, If We Ever, I've told all the other guys, especially Mark, when you guys did that song, it just blew my mind. Okay, that song right there, that song made me a lifelong Take 6 fan. Okay?
Well, you know, did Mark tell you that's the song he came into the bathroom and added a fifth part to?
He didn't say that. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So we were singing the Breath of Life Quartet. We were singing the Breath of Life Quartet arrangement, and he came in and added a fifth part. We're like, hey, man.
That's fantastic, because we've always known, man, Mark came in and did the part. We didn't know the song. Look at that. See, man, getting some knowledge up in here. I love it. All right, let's see here. What's a good all right, here's one from Sandra Hawkins. You know Sandra.
Oh, yeah.
She wants to know, and this, we've pretty much asked this of all the other guys, and we've had some really great answers. What is the hardest Take 6 arrangement that you've had to learn?
That I've had to learn? Probably from way back in the day, David and Goliath.
Yeah.
And I think because, wait a minute, was it David and Goliath? No, not David and Goliath. It was ba-doom boom boom, ba-doom boom boom. Getaway Jordan. Because that's the song, and I mentioned this in my podcast. I ended up leaving the Huntsville area and moving home to Florida. And when I moved home, the guys still rehearsed and stuff, and they tried to replace me and all of that stuff, and it never happened.
That came up in one of our earlier discussions.
Yeah. And so Mark sent a cassette of Getaway Jordan to Orlando for me to learn, because we were going to have this reunion at Alumni Weekend at Oakwoods. I had to learn that song from the cassette to sing with the guys after having not seen them at all and having not rehearsed or whatever. So I remember having to, you know, back and forth to learn this song.
Oh man, that's good. And back in those days, who was it that told me? Joey told me this, that he learned from Mark how to. They have 2 tape recorders. Record one, and then record another one, listening to that one, and then back and forth until they had like 6 parts. The thing would degrade like crazy, but at least you would get an idea of what it would sound like. Nowadays, Mr. Kibble will just record all the parts on his computer and send it out to you guys, and there it is.
Right.
That by the way is truly amazing. I've heard that actual one of his it was for Hallelujah. I heard that demo that he sent out to you guys.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Mark, yeah. So, you know, a lot of times he will do all that work himself. And kudos to him, because to do the full arrangement and then do the sequence of the arrangement and then sing the parts and then send that out to us, it's like, man, that's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. How much would you say in any given project would you say that he does that? Like, how many songs in any given project would he? I guess it just depends on what he arranges, right?
Well, yeah, because now he doesn't arrange all of the songs. I think Mark will typically have like final say on even other people's arrangements, just to make sure that everything is capiche, you know?
Yeah.
You know, get that Mark Kibble stamp on it.
Yeah.
But we've been recording so long, we know each other so well that if we can't all record together, Mark can send out the sequence And as long as there's maybe a pilot vocal that's the lead or something, we could fill in the rest. You know, it's not optimal because you don't want to record that way because you can't really feel, you know, everybody's energy. But you can fake it close enough that, you know, it's 89%.
It's pretty close. Like, I mean, if we didn't, I think that if we didn't know that, you know, like you live in LA and Mark and, you know, Joey live in Nashville and Christian's in Florida and whatever. I think that if that wasn't a known fact, it wouldn't, like, we'd listen to all these albums and we'd be like, man, I'd kill to be in that studio to hear all that, you know. But, you know, it's not really the case, but.
Yeah, it's a trip. I don't even know how some acapella groups sub different members in and out. That's amazing to me because for us, I know how Dave breathes. I know what Mark's going to do. You know, those kinds of things. They know what I'm going to do. We know what our strengths and our weaknesses and stuff are, so you can ebb and flow and it becomes an organic thing. When you bring somebody else in, even a really, really great person, you know, you're having to learn on the fly and they don't do this the same way so-and-so does. You know, oh, okay, let me figure out how to balance that out. And it happens.
That's what makes you guys, you know, a little bit of cut above the rest, dude, because, you know, they may do that. They may sub people in and out, whatever, but you also have to look at, and at least in my humble opinion about music, you also got to look at the complexity and the deepness of the music that they're doing. I dare say it may not be as complex and as intricate as what you guys do. So they can get away with those kinds of subs in and out. But in your case, you know, because of the kind of arrangements that you guys do and everything, it's not so easy.
Yeah, I would say that. You know, I think Accent is really, really, really good at what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, really good. But again, you know, they probably know each other's voices enough to be able to do things that are uniquely Accent. You know, Take Six is uniquely Take Six. And when we bring somebody else in, if you have a fine-tuned enough ear, you can tell that something is a little different.
Right.
You know? And we've had some great subs.
Yeah.
You know, but they are a sub. And especially me being on top and being able to hear what's happening below me. If something is different in my space, it's like,
right. Yeah, because you guys are all, you know, you have the in-ear monitors, and Tony was talking about how when he mixes that and he gives it, you know, it gives everyone a space within that in-ear monitor, so you can actually really pick out everybody. So.
And did he tell you? Of course, he told you that I have my own mix, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Tony's the man. I love that guy, man. He's great. Yeah, he hooks it up. All right. Well, here's a good question from Nathan Adams. Good old Nate from South Africa. He is a lifelong Join the Band fan, and he believes that it is the greatest album you guys have ever done. And he wants to know, well, he's got two questions. One of them, we'll get to Join the Band in a second, but he says, what are the differences between working on Join the Band with Warner Brothers and Feels Good on Take Six's own label? That's question number one.
Okay. I'll tell you the biggest difference is with that Join the Band album, we spent so much money.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Oh, my God. Because I told you from the first album, it was no budget at all. But what happens in this business, or what happened back then, is you make a hit. And they're like, here, man, take this. You know, so then the next album did really well. And then the Christmas album did well. Then Join the Band came up. If you look at the credits or think about it, we had everybody on that record.
You did. Stevie Wonder and
Ray Charles. We had Herbie Hancock. Dude, we had J.R. Robinson on drums. We had the Cats.
Yeah.
We spent so much money. So my answer really is, when you do something like that with somebody else's money who has deep pockets, there's a certain amount of comfort that you have in knowing that we can try anything.
Yeah.
You know, we can ask for this and it happens. when you are doing it on your own dime to a certain extent, and you're having to really hone in financially and stuff, and this is your first project on your own label, it's a different feeling. But it was also a feeling for us with Feels Good of almost relief, in the sense that we're going to do whatever we want our way. And not that Warner Brothers had a harness on us, but what happens is when there's expectation from somebody else.
Yeah, it's pressure.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of pressure even on yourself, but you want to, you know, make them happy.
Yeah.
You know, because they expect this. Right. But joining the band, we were like, what songs do we want to do?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. You know?
All right. Well, then that's perfect for his next question. He says, I'm going to read this exactly the way he wrote it, okay? He says, when can we get a Join the Band 2, and could you do it before Jesus Comes Again?
That's funny. So, a Join the Band 2. Interestingly enough, I think that album, or the concept of Join the Band, is something that we would think about revisiting, maybe even with more vim and vigor than redoing the first album, if that makes sense.
Oh, no, yeah. I think he means just like what you guys did, but like now you would have maybe bigger bands and you'd have different artists to do collaborations with. That's what
you mean, but the same songs?
No, not the same songs.
Oh, yeah. A Join the Band too.
Right.
Yeah. So that would make sense, where it's like, you know, we're going to do something similar to that, but more.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I think that could be a possibility. And again, I'm saying it out loud, but people don't drink from the well right now. Just understand that, you know, we're just having a conversation here. So I don't know that it's going to happen, but I think that there would be more excitement for that kind of thing.
Sure.
And, you know, since we don't know when Jesus is coming, you know.
You have until whenever. Yeah.
We have until whenever. That's right.
Well, the project that I want to see is I would love to see a Iconic 2.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Because I'm sure there's a ton of songs that were left on the drawing board, on the cutting room floor, if you will. And I think that would be an amazing follow-up to what you guys did, because that album, sir, is like, for me, it's like Feels Good, Iconic, and then this one.
Okay. Well, I can say that we had crazy fun doing Iconic.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, we sat in a room together and basically in front of each other wrote down all the tunes that we loved.
Yeah.
And then we voted on them. And all the tunes that got at least 4 votes got a second round of voting. And then I think the tunes that ended up on the record had 5 or 6 votes. So that meant everybody loved all the songs we did.
Right.
And that's very hard to do on any project, because you're like, yeah, well, I didn't really have anything to do with that song, but we did it, you know? That isn't how Iconic came about.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't know if you've gotten a chance to see Christian's live session, but he talked about how he did his first arrangement for that album and the story behind it. And it was wonderful. I loved it. You know, it was so great how he was like, you know, you guys were a little behind, so, you know, Mark asked him to do a song, and it turns out that was the song that you guys had voted against.
Yes.
But he asked about it, and they were like, you guys were like, okay, fine. Or maybe it was Mark that said, sure, go ahead, do it. And it's like one of the best songs on that album, the very first song on the album. It's great, you know? Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it works out that way.
Yeah.
And Christian is supremely talented as well, man. He's a great arranger. And the really cool thing about Christian is he will hustle. He will get right in on the grind, you know? And before you know it, he's got 10 things. You're like, whoa, hey, young fellow. But he's, man, I think to the old dogs, myself, of course, I'm always like, hey, this dude is running laps around everybody. Yeah. But that's just his personality. He's really good at it.
Yeah. No, he is. He's amazing. Let's see. Okay. Here's one from Reggie. He says, Joey recently talked about surgery on his throat. Have you ever had any problems right before a performance, or does the group switch up vocals to help if you're having problems? And does, yeah.
Okay.
Like that, yeah.
So in our entire career, there was one time, and this was maybe around 10 years ago, around Thanksgiving weekend, where we did an outdoor performance in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And the performance went well and whatnot, but for some reason, either I got some kind of strange vocal cold or something. I don't even know if that's a thing. But for like the next 3 weeks or so, not only did I not have a voice, but I only had my middle low to this extreme strange high. And we only had 2 gigs between that time.
Right.
But Dave took over for me on one of those gigs, and I think it was something that we did, and I think Brian was actually on this show, and it was somewhere in Florida as well, where we only had to do like 2 songs.
Okay.
And we were able to fudge our way through that one with Dave doing the thing. Mm-hmm. And then it was some other performance where I know I didn't have to do a full show. So I made it through, but it was so scary.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel bad. I wasn't sick or anything like that. It was like alfalfa back in the, man, what was he on?
Little Rascals?
Little Rascals. I was like, what is happening with my throat?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I can imagine how scary that is because your voice is your livelihood.
Yeah, yeah. And it's one thing to be sick because you know that, okay, if you're sick, maybe you need to cancel the gig or whatever and then just get well. I wasn't sick. I felt fine.
Yeah.
I just had this weird thing that would not allow me to have literally probably an octave and a half within my sweet spot of my range.
Mm-hmm. Maybe, I don't know if you've gotten a chance to, figure that out. I mean, maybe that was just your body telling you that maybe you were just overworked or, you had a lot of gigs in them, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, that sounds like it makes sense, but that's not what it was either because we weren't doing a whole bunch of stuff. And that's why I remember exactly when it happened. Now, it did rain later that day on that Thanksgiving Atlanta performance. So some kind of way, something got in there and just messed me up, man. I was like, this is quite scary. So there's a second part to that question, right? Or was that?
You kind of answered it already where it says, the second part to it was, does Take Six have any backup singers everywhere you go? Which you kind of pretty much already answered. Well, here's a good part of this. If anyone has any vocal problems in the group, is there anything that you all know that always helps clear your vocal cords, like herbs or medicines or spray?
So we're all very, very different.
Yeah.
And so we all have different remedies and whatnot. But the one thing I know is universal, probably for every vocalist, is you have to find rest.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. Even in the midst of a tough tour, you've got to get some sleep.
Yeah.
The vocal cords are muscles. If you're never in a place or a situation where you can find rest, well, they'll never have the ability to just bounce back.
Yeah.
I work out a lot, and part of the workout process is recovery. You can't work out every day with working the same muscles and expect them to grow or to do what you need them to do if you don't recover, which means sleep and rest, and just let them do what they need to do to replenish.
Right. So you would say that's your cheat code essentially for
absolutely. I have to have rest and water. You have to hydrate.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing for me personally is a lot of my singing is mental.
Mm-hmm.
So the more I can relax my psyche, the easier my vocal cords can say, okay, we're going to do this, as opposed to, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, listen, we know that you play the trombone. They're wanting to know, so this is another sounder question. She wants to know if you play any of their instruments, because she says that she knows that you wanted to learn how to play the keyboard and guitar. She was wondering how that's going.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I started playing the trombone in the 4th grade. And I think that is really the instrument that led me to be able to be in a group like this. Because trombone, if you know anything about it, there are no real set positions. Everything is approximate. So your ear is telling you what's right. Now, I play keyboard poorly, and the guitar is sitting over there, and it's very lonely. And here in this time of Corona, it's interesting that we're doing this interview today, because I just figured out for myself, again, from a psychological perspective, what I need to do to rehearse every day. So check back with me in a week. I only need a week.
Okay. We can come back in a week and we can do a live thing. And if you want to do a little song on the guitar.
Not what I said. I said check back with me in a week.
Okay.
That means that I will at least be in a place of, again, it's like working out.
Yeah.
In a week, you won't see a whole bunch of muscle, but what you'll see is consistency.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking for, is the ability to get my fingers to where, oh, okay, consistently, even if I'm still fudging around, at least I'm not sitting looking at it over there.
Right. Let me ask you, has this quarantine season given you I'm sure I know it's given everyone a certain perspective. I'm wondering if this quarantine has given you a perspective on the age-old question, what would you be doing if you weren't a singer, if you weren't with Take Six? What has this time given you pause to think about that?
A little bit, I'd probably be a stripper or something. What? No, let me start over. No.
We're talking with 10-time Grammy Award-winning Claude McKnight, who just said he wants to be a stripper. Go ahead.
Right. I'll be the old man stripper from the gospel group Take Six. No. So I think that what it has done and continues to do is show me, I guess if you're talking about other professions.
Yeah.
So I have a background in psychology. That was my minor in school. So I'm fascinated with human behavior. Fascinated. And if I wasn't in music as my career, you best believe that I'd be doing something as a psychologist or music psychologist or something that deals with why we do what we do, why we are who we are, that kind of stuff. Even with my posts online, it is amazing to me to see how people respond.
Yeah. Well, the internet's a weird thing because, with anything, even with just something as simple as text messages, you don't know the person's tone and the person's intent with just what's written there. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's interesting that you say that yeah, it amazes you what people say. But yeah, sometimes it's just that we don't know what that tone or that intent is. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. And so then I have to go back to the drawing board of even my own perspective on stuff. Is what I just posted, does it look like this? Does it feel like this to people? When in fact, this is how I meant it, Yeah. So I gather all those kinds of things, and a lot of it is useless information, but it's still fascinating to me. So
I like the fact that it's funny how with the internet, everyone's attention span, even though the internet is so vast, everyone's attention span is 5 minutes or less.
Yeah.
And I wish I knew how that happened, because there's so much good information on the internet. Things you can learn how to cook, you can learn how to build a car, build a house, whatever. But that if it's not in 140 characters or less, people don't care.
Well, you just answered the question, because we have the ability to give all the information we think we need to give in 144 characters, and because there is an unlimited supply of information out there.
Yeah.
You can't possibly see or hear it all. So if you don't get what it is you're looking for in those first couple of minutes, you're like, I'm over here. I'm over here. Now, the crazy thing though is with amazing information. People will sit through forever.
You're right. Yep.
With amazing music, they'll listen all the way through. So I think what ends up happening is you really see that the old saying, the cream rises to the top, is true. You know, it just so happens there's a whole lot of other stuff out there. You have to wade through it.
Yeah.
Because now we actually can do that. You know, people choose to.
So, you know, Christian asked me the other day, he said, what's the hardest part about being a Take Six fan? And my answer was that, you know, that I wish I had more content, you know, quicker and better and things
You see
like
me
that.
smiling? I knew that's what you're going to say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but see, I'm the guy that's like, because I'm a fan and a supporter, I'll pay for it. You know, you tell me you're gonna put out a Blu-ray, I'm gonna pay for it. You tell me that you're gonna do a documentary on the group, I'll pay for that. You know, you tell me I'm gonna do a, you know, live albums, I'll pay for that. You know, this is how I am because I'm a supporter like that. But so you know, my question is, because that is on a lot of people's minds. You know, what steps, because I know you know this, so what steps do you think now that, you know, it's so much easier to get out information, to get out content and things like that, you know, have you guys thought of newer and better ways to get content out to people?
Yeah, great question. Here's the thing, and I've known this, and we've all known this in the group for a long time. Unfortunately, with a true democracy, it takes a long time sometimes to get a quorum of yeses to make something move forward. You know? So on one hand, we've been together for 30 plus years and we love each other, we respect each other and whatnot, but we also give each other time to do this. We give each other space to do this and blah, 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 blah. Where if it was more a dictatorship group where there's one person, he's the leader, blah, 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 blah. We probably wouldn't have lasted as long, but we've gotten things done quicker.
Right.
You know, those are the pluses and minuses of those kinds of groups.
Right.
So to answer your question more in depth.
Wait, before you do that, I want to say this to everybody. Number one, we're talking to Claude McKnight of Take Six. Number two, if this cuts off, come right back because I'm going to relaunch the live feed and we'll keep talking with Claude, okay? Because we're probably about 4 minutes out from this thing cutting off. So if it happens, stay right there, come right back, and we'll finish up with Mr. Claude. All right, go.
Cool. So we philosophize about a lot of things, and because you know we all are very talented and very smart, sometimes it's hard to move the car in the same direction, you know, and that's not a bad thing necessarily, but it can be tough. It can be tough to move. You know, we have an idea and you want to do it, but somebody's like, well, have you thought about such and such? And then it's like, oh, then we slow down and, you know, just stuff like that. So it's tough at times. We're getting better. And I think by delegating, that helps as well. Delegating in the sense of, hey, Christian, do this arrangement. Hey, Dave, do this arrangement. Hey, Claude, hey, Vin, you know, those kinds of things help because when you pile all of the content directions on Mark, you know, you already know that that's a ton of work.
It is. Not to mention all the stuff that he's got going on.
Yes. Yeah. So that helps. So that's an answer that has taken us 10, 15, 20 years to get to, that it doesn't have to all be on one person or two people.
Right. Okay. What would you say is a project, aside from the Spread Love thing that you were telling me about, what would you say is something that you're most excited about in the future for this group?
Well, it is actually the possibility of some form of an Iconic 2 type project. You know, because again, these are songs we love. So, you know, to continue doing songs that you love as opposed to even brand new songs that haven't been tried out yet or whatever. You know? So that's exciting to me. And there are always things we're talking about, more orchestral stuff, you know, a big band album, Brazilian albums, So these are all things we want to do, but I'm excited about, you know, saying, hey guys, what about this song? And then if we do it, it's like, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, and you guys could also do EPs if you wanted to, where it's like you don't have to put out a full album, but if you wanted to like do 1 or 2 songs that you're really excited about and you have just enough time to do that.
And because you're talking to me right now, that's what I would love for us to do.
Yeah.
Get one song, boom, release it next week. Release the next song 3 weeks later. By the time, you know, whatever, you've got a full album and stuff out there, but you've got people who are waiting for content getting it.
Yeah. Like you mentioned earlier, you could feasibly do that for the debut album.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Feasibly. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Don't quote me.
Not saying it's going to happen.
But it's a possibility. It is. So. Well, let's see. We might get cut off here, but let's give it a go. We're almost done, but any final thoughts from the great Claude McKnight to the Take 6 universe?
I will say this, and you and I talked about this a week ago when we were talking about getting this interview together. And I've had time to think about my talk with you and the responses and stuff. I think what's really interesting about Take 6 Universe is people are extremely passionate. And that's a great thing. I think sometimes the passion for me, though, can be a little misguided, but that's okay. I'm coming around to the fact that I think it's okay.
Yeah.
But you got to understand that when we see things, or especially me, sometimes I'm kind of like, you know, I can see that, right?
Yeah.
I'm like,
all right, I am back. We're gonna finish up here real quick with Claude. He's gonna be right back here. Thank you everyone for staying and coming right back, because we definitely want to finish that with Mr. Claude. Here we go.
We're back. You were right, bro. You're like, bam, like clockwork. It turned on.
I knew it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just saying, you know, I love the passion that's involved with the Take 6 Universe page. One of the things we mentioned, or you mentioned right before this, about more content is I believe that if Take 6 was putting out more content, then that's what people would be talking about.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So I think what ends up happening is with less content, other things are talked about and other topics and whatnot, because you guys are fans.
Yeah.
You know? So you're like, well, nothing new out, so let's talk about their hair. Nothing new out, let's talk about, you know what I mean? It's like, what? Yeah. So I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Well, you know, I think one of the things that would be cool is, and maybe, you know, we could talk about this offline or whatever, but the more content doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, a new album or a new song or whatever. It could be something as simple as what you and I are doing, you know, where we could say, okay, you know what, for the next 6 months, once a month, we're going to have a, you know, Take 6 member come on here and we're going to, you know, shoot the ish, you know, and just talk about what's happening or whatever, you know, things like that. You know, because really what I've noticed is that in this information age, people just want to see you. They want to talk to you. They want to hear from you. They want to know what's going on and things like that. So I think that definitely goes along with what I was saying earlier about more Take 6 content. It's just, it doesn't have to be, you know, an album. You know, it can just be, hey, ask me a question. Let's talk about it. You know?
What do you want to talk about this week? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I totally got you.
So so I'll tell you what, I know Joey's down, because I talked to Joey and he's like, yo, I had so much fun and let's do this again and all that. So I don't know, maybe this could be something that, you know, we can hash it out and figure it out, you know. So
yeah, I mean, just be engaged, you know, more regularly and consistently with the fans. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then especially when new stuff comes out, you know, definitely keep us in mind, give us a shout out, you know, send us some links, send me, you know, whatever you want, send it to me. I'll put it up, man. I'm all about it, you know.
Cool. I got some solo stuff I'm working on too, so
yes, let's talk about that, because we really didn't get to talk too much about, you know, other stuff that you're working on aside from the group. Tell us about that.
Well, the interesting thing is I have hinted over the years that I'm working on this, I'm working on that, and then you don't see it come out. And part of the reason is because I, in 33 years of doing this professionally, have not known who I am personally when it comes to solo material. Because I like so much stuff, and because I have this big range, I don't know, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? Do I want elements of this and that and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But recently, and when I say recently, it's been within the last week.
Oh, okay.
Figured it out.
Hey, exclusive
so
right here.
I'm working on 2 songs right now that once they come out, they are all about what it is I want to do on a solo level.
Ah.
Yep.
I like it.
And it's not that I'm experimenting with this or that. No, I know that these 2 songs,
right.
I'm starting with these. And one of them is actually, and I'll tell you the song, it's an arrangement of I Gotta Try, the Michael McDonald song that I posted a picture on. Yeah. I've always wanted to do that song, and so I'm arranging it. I may get Mark Kibble or somebody involved in it to where it suits the sensibilities of what it is I'm trying to do. So that is one of the songs. So that, is, information I'm giving now. I'm doing that song.
That's cool.
I'm not going to tell you the other one, but oh my God. Oh, it is so cool. And I'm excited about it. Yeah. I'm not always excited about the stuff that I'm experimenting with. And that's why I don't end up releasing it or whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's not it yet. That's not it. The sauce isn't ready.
Yeah. So. Well, Prince used to do that. Prince got a vault. Famous for that, has thousands of songs that he never, because it didn't have it. It didn't have that, So I totally understand that. Absolutely. Yep.
Yep.
Wow. I'll tell you what, Claude, I want to say thank you so much. I truly appreciate your time and, coming on here and talking with us. It's a rare treat because I know all of you guys are super busy. An album may not come out for 3 years, but it's not because you got nothing else to do. So, we appreciate, the time that you guys, give to us and everything. And, hopefully this might be, something that, we can do more often, maybe,
Yeah, I'm down to do it, man. I've enjoyed this. I appreciate the fact that you wanted to do this with all of us and everybody jumped on. I know you were having a tough time getting us. Especially me.
Yeah, but hey, it all worked out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that I totally understand at the beginning of it because it was just an idea and everybody was like, well, how, I'm sure the thought was like, how's he going to pull this off? Is this going to look good or whatever? But I wasn't about to half-ass it. And, you can ask Tony, man, I went online and was trying to figure out the right way and this and that and how to do it just right so everyone could see it and all that. So yeah, it's been a whole bunch of fun. And, now that I think that our next step is going to be probably a Zoom meeting and have everybody on there with a little chat thing on the side and whatever.
Sure.
Man,
sure.
You never know.
Yeah.
Sky's the limit, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
All right, sir. Well, listen, we'll let you go. Thank you so much again. Always think of your boy here when you want to start sending out some stuff for me to leak to the internet.
All right.
Let me know.
I appreciate it, man. Great job, man. Great job.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, man.
And thank you to the fans. Thanks for showing up, hanging out.
Absolutely. All right. We'll talk soon, sir.
All right, man.
Have a good night. Bye.